Hey, hi, hello, everybody. You like fake Pokemon? Well, anyone familiar with me will know that in regard to Fakemon creation, I've been around the block a few times. Cranking out Fakemon is something that I've been doing for a very long time, and trust me, it shows. I've created everything, from starters to Ultra Beasts, to doing various monthly prompt challenges and puke gremlins, to fetus creatures and misogynistic mammals, to toilet ducks, to God knows what, to STDs, to a literal penis.
What the fuck?
Jesus! Hi everybody. Sorry you had to see that.
Somehow, I've seen worse.
Oh right, of course. This is my friend, Bludgeon.
Yes, hello. I have a channel too. I'm not as big or experienced with Fakemon as DBS here, but I like making them here and there, among other Pokemon discussions. Sorry, please continue.
Where was I? Oh right, yeah. I've been creating Fakemon forever, but something I have never tackled is a member of the Reggie family.
Ooh, we're talking about Reggies? This ought to be good.
The Reggies are weird. Introduced all the way back in Generation 3, these absolute units have remained possibly the most mysterious group of Pokemon in existence. Seriously, I know it may not seem like a big deal now, but back when Ruby and Sapphire came out, the internet wasn't just something that you could go on and access from your phone. You had to go well out of your way to even go online and find anything. Now imagine you're a dumb 7-year-old Irish boy.
In my case, British.
Same difference. You fumble and tumble your way down Route 134 and eventually stumble into the sealed chamber, where you are greeted with Braille, of all things. Now, unless you have access to the translator in the game manual, or you're legally blind, there's no way you're going to be figuring this out. Besides maybe begging that one kid on the playground who somehow got past this puzzle all on their own. Yeah, buddy. Sure you did. In the following generation, the Regimaster was introduced, Regigigas, found mysteriously dormant, locked away in a temple, only being awoken when its 3 subjects are presented before it. Which is kinda interesting given those games are being remade, with 2 new Reggies being introduced since. Is Big G gonna require the presence of all 5 of its subjects to awaken in BDSP?
Oh man, I sure hope it does.
Anyway, let's get to the point. I make Fakemon. The Reggies are essentially the Eevee family of the legendary world, having well over 3 types in their evolutionary group, with Fakemon creators constantly theorizing and creating what the remaining type golems could look like, some of which are interesting, but not quite gelling with the Reggies that we have already. With the help of Bludgeon, renowned resident Reggie expert,
His words, not mine.
we decided that it would be fun if we both had a go at designing a Reggie trio, bouncing ideas off of one another and justifying what exactly was Big Ass Gigas up to all those eons ago. Given that we wanted our trios to fit in alongside the existing Reggies, we had some criteria.
First of all, they're golems, which are generally humanoid, so they needed to have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face-like area for the dots.
Are those dots eyes, or are they just beep boop buttons?
Whatever you want them to be.
None of our Reggies should be amorphous, they should all have tangible, corporeal bodies. They also needed to follow the friend rule. People misinterpret this all the time as meaning cute or non-threatening, but tell me that Regirock isn't straddling the line between roasting marshmallows with you at a fire or crushing your bones into pulp. Man can literally take lives, but wouldn't shy away from a hug.
And lastly, we didn't want to get too crazy with the color schemes. Regigigas is the only Reggie with a multitude of hues, so using too many different shades and tones would make them too similar to their apparent king.
And it would only distract from its glorious elegance. And speaking of distracting, I briefly considered the idea of a regional Regigigas, or maybe some sort of second-in-command Reggie.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't think a regional variant for any major legendary is a good idea. Given how big feats like moving the continents and making your own golems are, a second Regigigas would take away from the original. Besides, Regigigas already has a second-in-command. 5 of them!
I said briefly considered, Bludgeon.
I know, just making sure.
Each of the current Reggies, besides Regiman, represents an age. The Stone Age, the Ice Age, Iron Age, the Middle Ages, and the Modern Age. We both figured going into this we'd leave this rule aside. I mean, there's only so many different ages one can represent via Pokemon types, and dropping this aspect freed us up creatively. I decided that I still wanted some sort of theme, so I settled on the states of matter. Liquids, solids, and gases. Yes, plasma is the 4th stage of matter, however I usually just think of ice, water, and steam. And besides, Plasma is already covered by Regieleki. It's a legendary concept I've wanted to do since back in the days of the Fakemon review decks, so why not do it now? So my initial idea for this trio would have been weather-based, with a water-type Rainmaker, a ground-type Sandstormer, and a poison-type Smog Dispenser? Yeah, poison doesn't even have an in-game weather type. Fire would have made much more sense, especially because, given the original Regis were dormant in Hoenn, home of the weather trio, I don't think that it'd be too much of a stretch to imagine that Regifizime was inspired by the antics of Kyogre and Groudon during its lifespan. I wasn't sold on this trio, so I thought back again to the era aspect that we dropped. What if we went pre-prehistoric? The birth of the planet. I mean, our gas would be coalescence, our solid the meteor impacts that created the planet, and liquid being the ice comets that formed the ocean. Good conceptually, but just way too visually similar to what we had already. I mean, what would Regigigas even be doing? Trying to create its own universe or something?
Not out of the question, but that's a theory for another time.
All these ideas were conceptually there, but they're just lacking something. As a quick aside, I considered what if Regigigas had an out-of-game experience and created a grass, fire, water Regi starter trio. Pokemon Regi and Pokemon Gigas editions?
The only games this franchise will ever need.
At the end of the design process, the combo of Smog being a chimney and all the energy involved in forming a planet had me thinking of exactly that. Energy sources. If we wanted to involve the concept of time passing, as is common in all the existing Regis, one could be a prehistoric energy source, another a fossil fuel, and the final being a renewable energy source of some kind. Energy sources would also allow Regieleki to fit in perfectly alongside our states of matter influence. This seemed like the perfect direction to go in.
Hold up, if Regigigas fell dormant thousands of years ago, how would it even know what modern day renewable energy sources are?
Good question, but maybe it knew something we didn't. Maybe it woke up without us knowing and snuck out for a bit. I mean, maybe it can time travel, shares a region with Dialga. Anything's possible. Also, it would have to output a tremendous amount of energy to even create the energy source trio to begin with. So I think it'd be a pretty cool explanation as for why it has slow start as its ability. Now that we finally have our theme settled on, let's meet our trio. Representing our solid, we're going for our prehistoric energy source. Well, maybe that's not the right word to use, because this energy source still exists, and it will exist as long as blood flows through our veins. Manual labor. Now, Bludgeon, I know you're not fond of muscle-bound Regis, however I decided to make this fighting-type Huncules out of salt. Salt was used in body preservation for mummies, which obviously bandages are heavily associated with, which then also have ties to fitness training. Salt also has muscle healing properties, it comes in a variety of colors, it's present in sweat. It kinda ended up fitting this much more than I could have ever predicted. Regisalt is basically walking smelling salts. Its presence can wake you up, shut you down, but either way, it's gonna beat you up.
Ah, see, this is how you make a muscle Regi. Salt is distant enough from rock and crystal that it isn't a rehash of Regirock or Regidrago, but its ties to actual flesh justify its design. I've seen a lot of muscle Regis, and they're too grotesque and barbaric. Who did Regigigas have to gut in order to make them? Not this one, he's great. Solid start.
Thank you. My design for the aforementioned water-type Rainmaker Regi was pretty much perfect, so why not keep what works for a liquid fossil fuel Regi? Turning in a murky grey with viscous highlights, our liquid Regi represents oil. We decided that poison fits this guy better as a type, to just give it a completely unique vibe from Regice. While Regitrolium has legs, it would move by sliding around on its huge arms, making the surrounding area incredibly slippery, giving it the overall advantage in battle.
Regitrolium. Man, that is so fun to say. Liquid Regis are an odd case because water-type ones are just Regice but floppy. But here you've picked a common energy source that can be both runny and semi-solid so the body could still reasonably stay together. Best way to do it. Listen to me talk like I know what I'm on about.
And finally, my third Regi soars amongst the clouds, our flying-type gas representing wind turbine. Yeah, it's kind of strange when you think of oxygen as a gas, but that's what it is. We're just surrounded by gas all the time. Amazing! The technological aspect was a bit tricky to work with, but I figured that Regidrago has the floating arms that it can reform, so this guy having a spinning face, I don't think that's too much of a stretch. Regiworld can obscure itself in its cloudy arms, vanishing instantly, before summoning Gale Force winds to blow you away.
I'll admit, when I first saw this one, I wasn't convinced on the wind turbine head, but Pokemon are usually treated as the inspiration for human technology, and at least this design is fairly on the nose. The arms being made of cloud is a fantastic idea because they don't break up the humanoid body shape we decided on, but open up a lot of opportunities for it. Definitely makes more sense than that nuke guy you came up with.
To add a unique twist to this trio as opposed to all the other Regis, I'd like to imagine that they're actually all awake still, providing energy, and being located at different elevations. Regitrolium could be located deep underground, maybe under the ocean in a huge oil cavern. Maybe it could be creating difficulty for corporations who are trying to extract the natural resources. Regisalt could be encountered in some sort of crater where it's constantly thrashing, resulting in earthquakes. Maybe the locals are able to harness this chaotic energy somehow. And finally, Regiworld would be located in the clouds, providing power to a floating civilization, like an airship village or something. Imagine Pacifidlog Town, but floating in the clouds. I don't think that's too out of the question, honestly. Well, that's my trio, but that's not all. Bludgeon has also designed his own trio, so follow me on over to his video and check them out. If you came here from Bludgeon's channel, hey. Thank you, stick around, I make videos, occasionally. Massive thank you again to Bludgeon for the inspiration. I never would have done something like this on my own, and it was only a ton of fun.
Nor could I, Dead Bedspread, and thanks for the opportunity. And thanks to all of you for stopping by, whether you're from my channel or not. Hopefully, I'll see you over on mine.
And with that, I've been DBS, and all the best.